What's the biggest reason they won last night?
Skip, Book was sensational. And making Book the primary ball handler, if you notice, he became the primary ball handler in the second and third quarters, and they scored like 10 of the last 11 possessions in the second half, in the first half. But the reason why they won was, and they have to win this way, is that their starters have to blow the doors off the Clipper starter, because their bench, they're not gonna get barely anything from the bench. And if you look at their starters, Torrey Craig had another great day. He had 17 points. Chris Paul gave you 16. DeAndre Ayton was in foul trouble, but he hit 7 of 10 shots. So their 5 starters was in double figures. Nicholas Batum gave you nothing. Zubac only gave you 8. So now you go to the bench, they got 13 points from their bench, and the Clippers got 22, 24, 30 from their bench. So this is the way they're going to have to win. The role players, I wrote Kawhi, Book, push. KD, Russ, push. Now, go look at Ayton. Go look at Craig. Go look at Chris Paul. That was the difference in the ball game. Yeah, Book was sensational. He couldn't miss. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he had it going last night. KD was KD. KD, if he gets to that spot, just like hope he missed. Or get ready to take the ball out, because you're not bothering that shot. You occasionally you catch him from the back. I think Russ blocked the shot one time. He was feeling good about himself. But KD's going to be KD. Extremely efficient. What was he last night? 10 of 19. Book was 14 of 28. Skip, they shot 59%. It's going to be hard for you to beat a team if you let them shoot 59%. And I know there are a bunch of twos, but shooting 59% from the floor on twos, that'll get you 123. So I believe that was the difference. Ayton did a great job like he got in foul trouble, but Skip, he made a lot of those 7 to 10 foot jumpers that kept them going, because Kawhi got it going. Russ was I'm like, who is this guy? This is like,
thank you.
This is like Russ like 7, 8 years ago.
Who was that guy?
Efficient, Skip. He was 9 of 16.
What?
2 of 3 from the 3.
What?
8 of 8 from the free throw line.
What?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, who is this guy? And so they need, and see, Skip, that's the thing. I believe Kawhi can continue to play like this. Do you believe Russ can still be efficient like he's been efficient the last game? Maybe he comes back some. But I think the Clippers feel very, very good, because it took an outstanding performance from the Suns to overtake them, because the Clippers had like a 12-point lead at one point in time.
13.
Okay.
Up 13 with 5:32 left in the second quarter.
And then Book got it going. And then KD was being KD. But, yeah, Skip, as sensational as Devin Booker was, he needed to be sensational because Kawhi wasn't taking a back seat, and KD pushed Russ, but it was those other guys. It was the Torrey Craig, DeAndre Ayton, and Chris Paul that actually won this ball game. Because if Chris Paul gives you another game like he gave you, Skip, they're not winning this game. He hit some big shots. You know, he started getting to that little point and started getting to his spot on the floor and started elevating.
He did.
So, Skip, this has all the makings of a 7-game series. You know that, right? You know that, right? It has all the makings. The best thing that you get Game 7 in your building, but this has all the makings of a 7-game series.
You could be right. I'm going to stick with Suns in 6, because the Suns showed me last night what I wanted and needed to see.
Okay.
The Suns did last night what they absolutely had to do, because they were teetering on extinction in Game 2 of the playoff run. If they go down 0-2 at home, having to go back to L.A. for Game 3 against, to your point, a deeper team, as the minutes pile up in this series, it would be huge trouble. It would be game over, series over kind of trouble for the team that I picked to win it all. Instead, the Suns rose late at night on the East Coast. Very late at night, the Suns rose. And they showed you what their big 4 can do. They don't have a big 3. They have a big 4. And you have been all over DeAndre Ayton, and he rose and shone last night, because when DeAndre Ayton can give you 14 and 13, but it was when he gave them the points that they needed in the second quarter.
Get 10, he was 5 or 6.
Yes, then that works. Okay, before I get to my biggest point here, I need to compliment Chris Paul III for what he pulled off last night, because you know and I know that Scott Foster was the referee. Chris has lost 13 straight games in which Scott Foster has been the crew chief, the head referee. I don't know what it is. They've had bad blood. Is it in Chris's head? Is it in my head? Because I was afraid I was going to see it, and then I start seeing ghosts and calls from Scott Foster, and I thought there were 2 or 3 what I would call wonky calls, like, what was that? But in the fourth quarter, when I least expected it and needed it most, the closer for the Phoenix Suns was the 38-year-old Chris Paul. There were a couple times when Bones Highland just blew right by him. There were a couple times Russ just blew right by him. And I said, I even tweeted about it, I'm not sure that Chris Paul can stay in front of anybody right now. Okay, but what can he do? He can orchestrate, he can play maestro, and in the end, he can close. Because even though he doesn't really get up off the floor, he can shoot those mid-range jumpers, and he can create his own shot in a weird way where they're complete step backs. They're almost like fall-away jump shots, but he made not 1 or 2. He made 4 in the fourth quarter, and all of them were momentum killers for the visiting team. Because just when I thought that Kawhi couldn't be stopped, and he couldn't be stopped, Chris Paul said, I'm going to put a stop to this. Every time that Kawhi said, yes, 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 or Russ said, yes, 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 Chris Paul said, no, not in my house. No, not in my house. And he ends the game. At the end of the game, he went a little out of his way to bump Kawhi as they were leaving the floor. So here's what happened to me last night. Here came the Clippers again. Kawhi Leonard played back-to-back the 2 best games I've seen him play in at least 3 years. His knees are so creaky. I've heard so many stories about how bad both of them are. They're arthritic, they're decayed, they're flawed, and yet he has turned back into a 2-way superstar of a player because he is defending KD at the highest level on the other end. I haven't seen that seriously in 3 years, him playing that kind of defense. Now, to your case in point, I don't even know who Russell Westbrook was in either of the first 2 games, but at least in the first game he shot 3 for 19. It was about to be 3 for 20 when Book fouled him. Last night, he was as good as he can get. He was the best he's ever been last night because he was efficient and didn't until late turn it over much at all. The point was, can you get much better Kawhi or much better Russ than you got last night? No. So they had effectively a big 2. Phoenix last night had a big 4 because back to my point, KD got off to a pretty hot start because he got blindsided and bamboozled and distracted by Russ guarding him right out of the box in game 1, and he wasn't clearly psychologically ready for it, and he missed his first 5 shots, and last night he made 3 jump shots in the first quarter that barely kept him afloat.
But you saw what he did, Skip. He took 8 shots in the first quarter.
Okay, because you have to, because I'm sure Monty is, heck, it's Chris telling him, Kevin, you just got to go. You just got to shoot it. You're our guy. We're going to go as far as you carry us type thing. Okay, then in the second quarter, KD continued to heat up, but DeAndre Ayton, as you point out from your box score, he was the one who's making jump shots because they're sagging off him. They're saying, yeah, you can have that. We'll give you that. We'll give you that. And he made 4 of them that not only kept them afloat, but when, again, 5:32, they fall behind by 13. Then they close out the half on a 23-10 run. And who hit the first 2 big shots of that run? Torrey Craig, who's bounced around the NBA. He's been with 4 different teams. He's 32 years of age. He went to, I don't know, you may know it because your brother went to South Carolina. He went to South Carolina upstate. I don't even know what it is. No. I don't know, but he's born and raised in Columbia, so he's South Carolinian, okay? But again, undrafted, Torrey Craig, he made 2 huge threes to start the run. Those corner threes where I'm saying, really, Torrey Craig? I'll take it. Here we go. And then they closed out the half on an 11-2 run. And as you know, Book, who had not made a 3 in ages, finally took one because he had to take the bomb at the end of the half. And that tied the game at 59, and it seemed to just completely shift the momentum back to the home team.
Because they came out to start the third.
They go on another big run to start the third. Okay, so who does the third quarter? Well, guess who's turned it in? It's Devin Booker's turn. In the third quarter alone, he goes 7 of 7. He makes both of his threes. He makes both of his free throws. He also has 4 assists. 4 assists? And he dominates the third quarter with 18 points and the 4 assists. So he was the whole offense, both shooting it and distributing it. It was all about Devin Booker. And I liked what Kevin Durant said after the game. He said, I feel like Book is an oversized point guard, to be honest. He said, the guy can initiate, he can make plays for others, he can get to the rim with either hand, which he made that one shot, lefty up off the glass. It was sweet.
Right.
He can do pretty much everything at the point guard position. So remember, Book's like 6'5", at least 6'5". I think they might list him at 6, but he's 6'5"-ish. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. If you can handle and do all those things, that's great. Okay. Then in the fourth quarter, after it's his turn, then it's Chris's turn. When I least expected it, Chris Paul makes the 4 shots that I showed you. So you got the big 4 all taking their turns to contribute when you needed to contribute. Okay, that is the formula for winning a championship. Yeah. That's why I said that morning we were at the Super Bowl, the sun's rising in Phoenix. We got a Phoenix-based crowd. And I said, I think you guys just won the NBA championship because you just acquired Kevin Durant.
Well, and plus the thing is, Skip, their starters are going to have to play major minutes. KD played another 45 minutes last night. Book was 45 minutes. Chris Paul was 38 minutes. Torrey Craig was 32 minutes. DeAndre Ayton was in foul trouble. He played 32 minutes. Skip, they're going to have to dominate the starters for the Clippers because they're going to lose the bench scoring on a nightly basis because of Norman Powell, because of Bones Highland, because of Terrence Mann. So KD, Book, Ayton, and those guys are going to have to be at least plus 10 to 12.
I got it, but don't undersell what Bismack Biyombo did. He was pretty good. He gave him good, valuable minutes. Okay,
he's a rebounder. I'm not guarding him because I know he ain't shooting no shot.
Okay, so, but he can make the little shots.
Yeah, but
I got it. Okay, and Okogie, I've always liked him all year, and he lost his starting job to Torrey Craig to start the playoffs. Right. But he came in the fourth quarter. You can trust him to make big little plays, and he made a couple of plays that helped in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Okay, Shannon. Ty Lue hit them with the biggest bunch of Belichickian-like defenses. I've never seen anything like the coverages that Ty Lue masterminded going into this game. Every time down the floor, I'm watching, I'm saying, that's a different look, that's a different look, that's a different look. And after the game, Book said, hey, he said, they're doing a lot of things we just haven't seen. They have a veteran team that can do it on the fly. I don't think a lot of teams can do that. When they're doing that, we just have to simplify. Well, what they were doing was...
Book, go make a play. KD, go make a play.
But against... Okay, sometimes they'd come down and they would run 2 men at KD. Right. Sometimes, as KD said after the game, sometimes he looked up and there were 3 coming at him.
Right.
Sometimes they would just fall back into a zone. When you least expected it, they'd go zone. Right. And sometimes they just go 5 on 5. Let's take them head up and see if they can figure this out. Right. Well, it's like Belichick would do to Patrick Mahomes. Let's try to confuse him. Let's try to disguise.
Well, you know, Skip, he started, Belichick was the one that started, I rush 3, drop 8.
Okay.
I rush 2, drop 9. Okay. I'm going to get, I'll bomb
the equivalent. Listen, Ty Lue is the best strategic coach in basketball, and he hit them with everything he could hit them with a veteran team, switching defenses on the fly every trip down the floor. And Kevin would look for a while. He said, should I go or not go? And they began to figure it out. And to your point, if I'm the Clippers this morning, I'm saying, damn, we gave it our best shot on defense. We can't play better defense than that. They shot 59%. 59%? I mean, that's pretty great.
But Skip, if you watch that second and third quarter, you watch Book in the third quarter, Skip, that's just one-on-one. He was just getting the ball and just elevate.
Okay, and when he starts feeling it, you know what he can do.
So what am I supposed to do?
He can score 70.
Right. I mean, there are a few times that Book initiated Biyombo. Hey, go set the pick on KD. KD come get the ball at the free throw line. Okay. That's easy money.
Well, if you give him a step to the free throw line, he can just fall away from the free throw line. It's money.
Right.
Well, wouldn't you like to see a little more of that? That's the only one they ran all night.
Think about this. The Suns were 16 of 22 on mid-range shots outside of 14 feet in Game 2. In Game 1, they were 8 of 25.
Okay, that's what happened. That's why the score was the score.
But you got 2 of the greatest mid-range shooters in the game today. You got Book and KD. Okay. KD shot 57% on 2s. Who the hell shoot 57%?
Well, that's historic.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you got Book that's going to elevate. Skip, like I said in the third quarter, Skip, that was just Book putting the ball, driving, and just elevating, getting to the apex and letting the ball go. What I'm going to do? I'm looking at Ty Lue. Bro, I can't do anything with that.
Okay. So in the end, Chris Paul finally said, I tweeted about this first of the game. just keep your head down. Don't even think about Scott Foster. If he gives you a sorry, crazy call, just play through it. Yeah. Just play on. It's not going to end the game right there. And he did. You got to give him credit for rising above the Scott
Foster voted worst official?
He was.
Yeah.
In the athletic poll.
He deserved it.
Okay. All right.
Best official is my homeboy.
He is.
Sean Wright.
Yes, he is.
And then I'm going to go Zach Zarba.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go Sasha.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay.
But Scott Foster is definitely the worst.
Well, the Chris Paul would second that emotion.
He's definitely the worst.
But he finally got out of his 0 for 13 skid.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.